It gets worse. I made a CD.
Hello and welcome to Green Queens,
The perfect podcast for imperfect environmentalists.
We're your hosts, Imogen and she's Abbie Dewhurst.
And I'm laughing so much because if you're not watching this but listening to this, you have no idea just how absurd we look right now. At 4:56 on a Thursday afternoon, we are both in full sequin festive clobber, sequin dress, red lip. The hair has been freshly air wrapped from the both of us. And you are listening and watching a very special edition of the Green Queens podcast where we are having our Green Queens Christmas party.
Absolutely, because this is episode 2 of our Christmas specials, and we text each other earlier in the week and we're like, we should commit to this. We should fully commit. However, as anyone who watches this podcast will know, that they only see sort of shoulders up. So yes, there are sequins at the top. Woohoo! On the bottom, I've still got my leggings on.
I've got an Ugg boot, I'll be honest. And I don't think a sequin dress was ever designed to be styled with an Ugg boot, but here we are.
I also feel, well, I can only speak for myself here because your hair is still looking fabulous, but I did the rapid Dyson air wrap situation, but it will probably fall out by the end of this podcast.
It looks absolutely sensational. I feel like we are ready to party. And we did both just say before we started recording, we definitely should have popped a little bottle of something and done this with a glass. Never mind. We'll do it when we're together. We've got a little weekend together next weekend. So.
Yes. Well, today is, of course, our Green Queens Christmas party. And we're going to show you how we can do this in a super sustainable way. Before we get into that, though, we just want to say thank you to everyone who shared with us that we are your top podcast on your Spotify Wrapped, or even if we were in your top 5, we are extremely grateful.
So grateful. And normally I am a bit of a Spotify Wrapped Scrooge. I'm like, no one cares, Sandra, that your listening age is 25, okay? And I was very much feeling that. I was like, oh, so not sharing mine this year. It's so lame. And then your husband, Deep, sent to our group chat that his number 1 podcast was Green Queens. And I was like, oh, I didn't realise that the Green Queens podcast could be on the Spotify Wrapped. All of a sudden, it is the most important piece of information that has come out of 2025. And yes, I have been tagged in and I have been sent by some lovely listeners and friends that we are within the top, at least top 5 in some people's Spotify Wrapped. And in great company as well. Podcasts like The Diary of a CEO, Begin Again by Davina McCall, My Therapist Ghosted Me, Parenting Hell, like some of the big guns. And then Green Queens just shoehorned in there.
And the lovely thing was that when you see them in that list of 5, we make sense. I feel like our branding, sits nicely alongside some of those big OG podcasters.
100%.
Yeah. So I do have to ask though, what was your Spotify age?
Oh, mine was good. 20 something. Let me go back. How do I see it? Top artist, listing age. Mine is 25. Well, you sound so annoyed. What's yours?
73.
No, say again. You broke up.
73. I'm an old soul.
What are you listening to? Dick Van Dyke.
Step in time, yeah. Well, no, lots of 60s music apparently, a lot of retro soul. So I'm going to interpret that I'm just a cool gal with great music taste.
You interpret that in that way, all you like. I'm taking from that Nana.
That's probably more accurate. But there is a really important thing here, is that we always leave this at the end, and we're actually going to say it now. If you could do us the honour of liking or subscribing or leaving a comment or leaving a review, it does make sure that we can continue to be in your podcast feed, and maybe next year we'll appear in your top 5 podcasts. So do that now. Give us a little follow.
I mean, considering it is our Green Queens Christmas party, that can be the gift that you give us. Do us an absolute solid, please, and subscribe and like and comment and review, because it is quite tragic, I think, sometimes that the only person that comments on our YouTube videos is my own husband. Love you, Jake, but, some more people.
Well, the format of today is that, as we say, we're having a sustainable Christmas party. And so we have each thought about what to wear, about the decorations, the food and drink, and the playlist, and maybe a couple of games as well. So that is to go through over the next however long this takes. Could be half an hour, could be an hour. We don't know.
No, it can't be an hour because I have wreath making at 6 and I'm going to have to leave before then. So in true Green Queen's Christmas fashion, I'm out of here. I've been waiting for a man to come and look at a leak in my house all day, and he's yet to appear. I have since called him and said, you know what, don't bother. It's fine. We'll sort it another day. But I am just bracing myself because the front door is here. I am here in a sequin dress and a slipper. And I just know that any minute now, this man is going to knock on the door. So if it happens mid-podcast, apologies.
The thing is, though, we were going to record this in full sequin garm at 10 a.m.
I know. That would have been a bit keen.
It at least makes more sense that we are dressed like this at this particular hour.
It does. Okay. And speaking of what we're wearing, shall we start there? Imogen, tell me about that sensational sequin number you are currently wearing with a legging.
Well, so the leggings would not normally feature if we were going to a real life party. I would whip those off. But, these pasty legs do not need to see the light of day at this particular juncture. But I'm wearing a sequin dress. Now, if anyone has followed either of us on social media, you would have heard us say that sequins are not good. They are plastic and they are not recyclable and all of those sorts of things. But if you rewear sequins or if you buy things from Vinted, that is okay. Now, this was bought firsthand, but bought firsthand 7 years ago.
Great.
So I thought, well, it's old and it's getting reworn. And hilariously, my niece Izzy thinks it's the most glamorous dress she's ever seen in her life. I don't want to break her heart and tell her it was £25, but she's asked if I will promise that I will give it to her when she's old enough.
Oh, you know what? The cost of it has nothing to do with the glamour of it. I would say it is one of the most sensational, glamorous things. The way it's catching the light in that little office of yours is doing great things. And yet, like you say, it's a difficult one because I never want to be like this big sequin Scrooge because, we all love a sequin. But you really don't need a new sequin garment every single year. And I think that is the problem. Well,
I also brought a spare. Which is this one. And I actually bought this from Vinted for about £3, and that was for an ABBA themed party. So I have worn this on a previous Christmas occasion, paired with a Christmas jumper. So that was my backup.
Cute, really cute. Okay, well, I am wearing also a full sequin number. The dog's out. Hang on. She's fine. She's going from one bed to another. Full sequin number, like a little disco ball. And this is also old. It was bought about 6 years ago for my wedding, actually. This was the dress that I changed into so that I could have maximum leg movement and dancing, bumping and grinding on my wedding day. The dog really is making some noise. Again, it was bought from the high street. It was kind of bought before I knew a lot about fashion. I was in the process of learning. And as soon as I learned, I was like, okay, she's staying with me. Also, she is amazing. And she's such a special sentimental dress for me now because worn on my wedding. I also wore it at my 30th birthday party. So it will continue to make an appearance at various great occasions, including the Green Queen's Christmas party. And not only the Green Queen's Christmas party, the first ever Green Queen's Christmas party.
So I'm also going to tell you the other opportunities or the other occasions that I wore this dress because they were by no means as sentimental as when you wore yours. But the last time I wore this, I made my husband wear black tie and I wore this for the Strictly Final 2024.
You were the
Strictly Final 2023. For the Strictly Final 2022. I am living my test daily dreams, and also I can show off an arm, although they're not quite as toned as hers.
They look great. Well, I would say that for you is a huge perk. Like this time of year to get one arm out, it's like a good balance of, skin, no skin. For me, who embraces mince pies as if they're going out of fashion, it's a great batwing number and actually a lot of room in there. It's belted. There's a lot of stretch. There's a lot of give. It's just a great all-round Christmas dress, this.
Now, if anyone has not seen what Abbie looks like, I would like to point out to everyone that she is a teeny tiny woman who does a lot of CrossFit. She does not need to worry about batwings. But even if you did, we wouldn't love you any less.
Thank you. It's very kind. Anyway, there's room for a mince pie in there.
Do you know, there's someone I follow on the internet. They are an influencer whose name escapes me, Delaney Rowe. And I saw an interview with her and they were like, what's your sort of secret to happiness? And she was like, always buy clothes that are one size bigger. Don't wear tight clothing. And I do think that that is the route to happiness.
Yeah. And I think that's
Nice and
something that
goofy.
I need to change. I've always been of the mindset, and I think this is being a 90s baby, like, heroin chic. Everybody was anorexic in the 90s. And that's kind of how we grew up, with Mary Kate and Ashley disappearing by the day. So for me, sizing has always been quite a big thing, and I've always bought things on the. I'm always like, oh, I'd rather it be a bit snugger than the other way round. I think also being short, there's like a mindset around, oh well, if I get the smaller size, maybe it'll be a little bit shorter, so then like I won't have trousers and dresses trailing on the floor, which is absolute nonsense because often they're the same length. But I notice some of the clothing that I own, even though it still fits me, because it's not the most comfortable stuff, I will not grab it every day. And the stuff that I am grabbing every day is loosey goosey. It is comfort. And genuinely, when I'm going to a party or going for dinner or anything, I just want to be comfortable, because it's really uncomfortable when you're wearing something super tight. And
Yeah.
I just want my stomach to expand with the champagne as I'm drinking it, okay?
And I think that is very reasonable. And I think we
Thank you.
can conclude from this that we have done well to recycle our sequins and look fabulous.
I agree. I'm really pleased. And you texted me earlier when you were like, how glam are we going? And I was like, oh, sequin and a red lip. You were like, perfect. And
That's
what's
what I had
funny
in
is that we
mind.
accidentally twinned on the previous Christmas episode. We've kind of on purpose twinned on this one. And it'll be interesting to see what the third installment of the Green Queen's Christmas edition has in terms of our outfits.
Well, the third one is food, so maybe we need to come in the loosest tracky bums that we possibly can find.
Perfect. Deal.
So, moving on to our second component, which is decorations and how to decorate in a sustainable fashion. And I think this is going to be quite interesting because you and I, well, we live in very different types of houses because they're just different ages. And I think our style is slightly different. So I'm intrigued to see what you've come up with.
Okay. Well, if anybody has been following my Gladvent series on social media, you'll probably already know that my obsession this year, even though I am probably the busiest I've ever been in December, I am also making paper chains like they're going out of fashion. I'm like a crazy knitting woman. Like, all I do is make paper chains. But this is so, like I've mentioned a couple of times, we may well be moving house next year. And the last thing that we did in terms of finishing the house and decorating it was a couple of rooms that we wallpapered. And that wallpaper was some of the biggest decisions I had to make in this house. And so to see some left and potentially going to waste, no. This is paper chains made out of old wallpaper. It is an incredibly calming way to spend your evening, and it really does spruce up any room. Also, cohesively tying in the decor of my home very nicely.
That is precisely what I was going to say. You know it's going to go, you know it's not going to clash because you chose it.
Literally, it is in my hall, stairs and landing, and now it is in my living room. But I also did do a video on this year, the kind of trend, the thing that's been going viral online is apparently Ralph Lauren Christmas is in. And that is what like all of the retailers are trying to do. They're trying to like create little tartan things. And it's kind of peak nostalgia though, isn't it? But searches for Ralph Lauren Christmas on TikTok have gone up 600% this year.
No.
And the average Brit spends £185 every year on Christmas decorations, which blows my tiny mind because I don't know about you, but I'm of the household that just like we buy it and then we just get the same stuff out every year. And like I might add one or two that have a bit of a story behind it or sentimental value, but I'm going to be getting the same Christmas decorations out when I'm 99, I hope. These paper garlands will be coming with me.
Well, do you know, I was having that exact discussion with somebody yesterday because with our tree, we have the approach that actually decorations are really expensive and you want ones that mean something.
Yeah.
So we agreed a few years ago that we would buy one decoration per year and it would be of a significant thing. So this year we bought a prawn Christmas tree decoration from St. Ives when we stayed at 3 Mile Beach.
Oh,
But to fill the rest of the tree, what we did was we bought just loads of ribbon and did little bows, and those bows are absolutely
lovely.
fine to come out year on year. And slowly, the other more sentimental things will fill the tree, and hopefully, we'll be 95 years old, and we'll have 65 decorations.
Loads of little prawns on the
Loads of
tree.
little prawns. Yeah, there's we got a little Negroni last year. Anyway, it's all I agree. I think I don't necessarily subscribe. I mean, I don't subscribe at all to this
to a
idea that you
trend.
have a different theme
No.
Christmas tree each year.
No.
Weird.
And like some people that I know have a different theme in a different room, maybe. So like my sister will put a tree up in like both her girls' rooms and they'll have slightly different themes. But again, she's going to just keep getting those trees out every year. But I don't know when this happened. Was it like, do you think it was well, I mean, the sort of social media culture and influencers and things have, I guess, driven it to an extent because everybody's taking a photo of their tree now and putting it online. But I wonder also if like the whole Zoella era of that sort of YouTube, that like, what can we possibly talk about and vlog about if things aren't changing? So I wonder if that has played into it at all.
I'm sure it has, and I think over the past 5 years or so, I've definitely noticed things like, I was trying to say Halloween and October at the same time, and it just go. Halloween, that was not a thing to quite the same extent, and I think it is an Instagram effect that you need something that's visually, well, that it works on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're my addition. They're my decorations that I'm going to bring to the party. What about you?
So I'm going to WhatsApp you a picture.
Oh,
And this is where I think this is a bit more earthy in tones. But my Christmas decorations are going to comprise of, well, you shall shortly see. But good table.
oh,
Yeah, so we've got, and I'll make sure that this is on screen, but using lots of things like you can get nice foliage for the table. You just need to go to a garden centre and get a bit of a cutting. Stars made from wrapping paper and dried oranges. So
that's so sweet. And actually, you can forage for a lot of that, the foliage as well. I think there's a general rule where I think it's like a rule of 30 or something like that, where like if you're going to go and take cuttings of anything, which by the way, it's a really good year for holly because the fact we have had a mast year, all the trees have gone a bit mad. So if you wanted to get some holly for your house, but the rule of 30 is that if you go and you see a holly bush or whatever it may be, you can take 30%. You have to then leave 30% on the bush, and then there's another 30% that you leave for wildlife. So that's the general rule if you're foraging for anything. But yeah, don't waste your money in the garden centres.
well, this is it. So everything made from oranges, plants, bit of paper, and I've got one more thing to show you because these would have been something that I'd have made in real life, but I just photoshopped them instead. Now I can print them.
There's a paper chain in there also. Oh, here we go. Now we're talking.
I have made two little angels, again from wrapping paper, but the faces I have changed to me and Abbie. I thought they were great.
That is absolutely amazing. I have so many questions. It looks like we're wearing little tights, our little feet. Oh my word, hilarious. And also kind of terrifying. But actually, I don't have an angel for the top of my tree. And I can think of nobody I'd rather have at the top of my tree than you. So
Well, I will
might have to
I'll
make
send you the
it.
high resolution version of that, and you can print it off.
Please do.
A few years ago, I did make an angel in a similar vibe using a picture of Teddy, the dog. But everyone assumed she died. It
Yeah,
doesn't work with
I
pets.
saw that, I think, last year, and it did look a bit like a memorial.
Yeah, do not do that with pets. It's not
No.
charming and cute. It's just
No.
makes it awkward for everyone who comes to the house. Like, oh, is Teddy still with us? Yes, she is alive and kicking.
And she was, her bed was right next to the tree as well, so she was obviously like, hello, still here.
Yeah, guys, listen. Okay, well, we've got the important things. We look great. The location looks fabulous. Food and drink. What have you got?
Okay, so I may have mentioned it once or twice, trying to buy all of my presents from within Yorkshire this year. So I have done extensive Yorkshire research, and I also think just in general, keeping the air miles, food miles, drink miles down as low as possible is always a good thing. And I have stumbled across a distillery between the North York Moors and the Yorkshire Dales of whisky. Now, it claims to be England's first net zero energy whisky, which is rather impressive. Cooper King Distillery. I'm not a huge whisky drinker myself. However, my dad and I went skiing a few years ago, and the legend that is Paul Dewhurst, while we were up a mountain and just having a lovely hot chocolate one day, absolutely whipped out a little flask, dropped a bit of whiskey into our hot chocolates, and it was sensational. So my drink of the evening will be Cooper King Distillery, Yorkshire, England's very first net zero whiskey. Little drop of that in some festive hot chocolate.
Oh, that is such an incredible addition. And I think we need to have a bit of a Green Queens. Maybe we could be joined by our husbands for that one. Little day out. That
I
sounds
think we should.
amazing.
And like, if you actually read on their website about what they're doing, it's really impressive. It said that essentially their total emissions from their own operations. I don't know when this update was done, to be fair, so I need to look at it. But they equate to an average of 0.1 tons of CO2 per year, which is less than a one-way economy flight from Leeds to Glasgow.
Oh my goodness.
That's impressive, isn't it?
So you can feel great about drinking your whiskey.
Perfect. Although I did
And
have to
even
fill
better
in.
if you don't book that short haul flight.
100%. You're basically saving the world and getting sloshed at the same time. I had to fill in one of those e-consults today for my GP, and it's, do you smoke? No. Are you pregnant? No. All these things. How many units of alcohol a week do you drink? I was like, we'll go with 4. That's hugely underestimating, but I went with 4.
I reckon whenever they read 4 to 6, they're like, nah, we'll add a multiplier to that.
It depends what I'm doing in the week. Like, what can I say? If it's the Glamour Awards, how much space have you got?
Well, and I'm also aware that we do talk about wine quite a lot on this podcast, but we've just had so many nice things this year. I promise we're not total booze hounds, but
No, and always drink responsibly. La da 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 da. Goes that saying. Anyway, what's your food and drink?
Oh, okay. Well, I will say, especially at Christmas time, we need
Mm.
those designated drivers.
Defo.
Okay, so let's assume I was super last minute on this. Maybe I've been away, haven't really thought about this. So I went on Too Good To Go, which
Perfect.
is a marketplace for surplus food. So loads of restaurants and cafes and supermarkets within your area can put stuff on there, stuff that's about to go out of date. So I had a look on what was there this morning, and there was a mystery food bag from M&S Food. And there was also a mystery bag from the kitchen food company Deli and Bistro, which is based here in Oxford. So I was like, brilliant. I could get those 2 things and conjure up some canapes from those. There would be something in there, and I would have spent £8 on both of those collectively. But the other thing that I would contribute is some Tap Social beer. Now, this was also on Too Good To Go. And Tap Social beer is good for 2 reasons. One, obviously I've got it on Too Good To Go, so it's not going to waste. But also, this is a local brewery here in Oxford, and they work very closely with people who are currently in prison or just out of prison. And it's sort of equipping them with new skills, getting them back into the workplace. And it's not just brewing the beer, they might be involved in the artwork or the marketing. But the best thing about Tap Social is not only will you find it in most pubs in Oxford, but the slogan is criminally good beer.
Oh, that is genius. That is genius.
Yeah.
Wait, so that was on Too Good To Go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been the 0% version, which is necessary.
100%. And actually, I would argue a great way to start the night. Always start with a 0%. Never end with a 0%. If you're going to do like maybe have 1 or 2, start with a 0%, work your way up. That's amazing. That is amazing. I have a beer stat also in terms of beer that's consumed over the Christmas period. So there is enough beer in the UK consumed over the Christmas period to fill 57 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That is 250 million pints. And I would say Jake is responsible for about 150 million of them.
250 million pints.
We bloody love beer in this country, don't we?
Also, there are 70 million people in this country, of which a significant fraction of those are under the age of 18. So we shouldn't be drinking. And I would say big sweeping statement, but I wonder what ratio. I was about to start doing the maths. Basically, it's a lot of pints per person.
It's a lot of pints per person. I was wondering where you were going to go with that. Like, what kind of calculations were we going to do?
Statistically, this percent of men drink beer and this percent of women drink beer. We can assume that equates to... Anyway, I will stop.
Oh, I was quite enjoying it. Why were they getting rid of it? Is there like a sell-by date on beer?
Presumably, or they were just being nice. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there must be. Perhaps it's slightly different as well on... well, they're in cans. So, I don't know.
I mean, I would think it would have like a best before, maybe.
I should actually go and genuinely pick this up from Tap Social for £4.55, and then
You can ask, why are you getting rid of this? They'll be like, oh, we didn't mean to do that. You can't have that.
I'd be like, but you did get yourselves on the podcast, so it was success all round.
Success. Is it good? Is it good beer? What are we doing? You know how seriously my husband takes the beer situation.
Well, you guys are coming to Oxford, so actually we should absolutely try some because, as I say, it's very easy to find it within Oxford. They are everywhere.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
report back then with a gold B review of this Tap Social beer.
The problem is that like they're more IPA, and I know that Jake's a bit more of an ale man.
He's partial to anything, but yes, his preference would be an ale.
He's so old beyond his time. I bet his listening age is 73.
Well, on that, fuming because so Jake's car had like a Spotify account, whatever, and then it logged him out, and God, I love this man, but he doesn't know his password to anything. And so just that was it. He was no more into his Spotify. And so I was annoyed one day as a passenger princess, not being able to listen to all the good stuff I wanted to listen to. So I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to log you into mine because it's driving me insane listening to the ads. So I logged him into mine, and he's still now logged into mine, and he's like liking loads of songs. So my favorites is an absolute mishmash of chaos. So again, my Spotify Wrapped, I actually don't really believe because listen. So my top song in one of my top 5, I have 2 Leon Thomas songs, which is 110% not me. Oh, balloons.
So for those again who are not watching, just some balloons appeared.
I don't know why, but yeah, so he's messed with my Spotify Wraps, which is kind of annoying. The Chris Stapleton is definitely me, but
that is so frustrating. Something that has baffled me about my husband's Spotify Wrapped is that I would say largely I approve of his music taste. I quite like it. Very happy to listen to his music. 9 Inch Nails.
yeah,
It's his go-to in the gym, and I don't understand it. So he's in like the top 1% of 9 Inch Nails listeners. And if that had been like on a Hinge profile, I'd be like, no, I'm avoiding this guy. I'm not into that.
That's how he's like the most placid, gentle giant, though. And so to think of him just putting his headphones on in the gym and absolute like trail rock coming out is it's obviously his release, Imogen. He's got to have one somewhere. And if scary, shouty rock music is it, as long as the Green Queens podcast follows closely second.
Well, also, what a Venn diagram, because he's in the top whatever percent of 9 Inch Nails listeners, and he's also in the top 3% of our listeners.
And that, I think, is a well-rounded human being. You've married well there.
Do you know the other guy who I think would be in the centre of that Venn diagram? And that is the BBC Nature Man, who we met at Wimbledon, who is on a mission to go to every single 9 Inch Nails tour or like location.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But he also knows a tremendous amount about bees.
He does. He did. He spoke extensively at us about bees, didn't he?
Well, him and Deep, they can bond over that weird concoction of listening habits.
Bees, beers, and I can't think of another bee.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Babes. Anyway, moving on. Who knows if that will make the edit? Games.
Yes.
So, what game have you got?
Well, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's particularly sustainable, but it is something I already own. So the fact that I don't have to go and buy anything is good. And it's also, I think, one of the best games to, if you want a really good belly laugh, it's called the humming game. And there's very little to it, where essentially you just have to hum the song on the card, and there's a bell, and you have to hit the bell. And I have some wonderful friends in my life, but I think it's fair to say I have some of the worst hummers known to man within my collection of friends. And there is nothing that entertains me more than listening to them desperately trying and straining to hum a song. So I thought actually it'd be quite fun to do the humming game Christmas edition, Christmas songs only.
That is a great game. And I love all of these games that seem to only come out at Christmas, because I've got a very similar one that's like, it's sustainable only in as much as I'm using old scrap paper from old scripts in order to facilitate this game. But a real staple in our household is speed Pictionary. And people are always like, why does it have to be speed? Let me explain. So you have 2 teams in 2 separate rooms. And you have, let's say in this instance, me in a central location, typically up some stairs to add an obstacle to this game. I am sat at the stairs and I have a list of around 20 items. The first person from each team comes up the stairs, asks me for the first clue. Let's say it's love, actually. They go back to their teams. They have to do the speed Pictionary. Somebody in their group guesses it. They come to me to get the next clue. So there's simultaneously a race between the two teams to get to the bottom of the list, but also a race up the stairs. So fun for
Oh,
everyone.
wow. Post-Christmas dinner, I feel like that is both dangerous and difficult, I would say, to run
Yeah.
upstairs. There's not a lot of running or moving really that goes on in my house at all. But of course, your game is like some sort of adventure.
Oh my gosh, this is play it in any environment, and I can guarantee that you'll do one round and people will request a second round. And in a couple of weeks' time, we've got our work Christmas party, and we've actually got a big country house, and the whole company is being taken to this big country house, and we're doing basically games like that, including speed
That's
Pictionary.
so fun.
We've got a quiz, and we've got karaoke. It's like
You are the queen of organised fun.
I love Organised Fun.
I know you do.
And also love karaoke, which is a new love in my life.
You love karaoke. Oh, okay. Wow. Maybe I was going to say I'm a bit sad that we're not having a proper Christmas party, but I don't think I want one. If you're going to make me run up and down the stairs and sing karaoke. Karaoke is one of those things that I feel like I've talked myself out of liking, but maybe in the right environment. Maybe if we were to get one of those like private karaoke booths, I would embrace it a bit more. Maybe I'm just getting old and boring. Am I?
No, so I just have to tell you this because I I need to have a little giggle about it. Last year, we had a Christmas party which was called A Night at the Ox Cars. Oscars, Ox, anyway, tenuous. But my friend Charlotte organised it, and it meant that there was always going to be a karaoke component because she loves karaoke. Charlotte, I know you're listening. You're a top listener. I know you're in the top 1%. And she's getting married next week. So congratulations to her.
Oh.
However, she is so into karaoke that one day she was away in Iceland and she was like, yeah, I can sing karaoke. What she didn't realize was that the audience was like 400 to 500 people. And there's this video that comes out at every single Christmas party of her singing A Star Is Born or a song like Shallow from A Star Is Born to this crowd, which she
Quite
thought
the
was just going to
song.
be humble karaoke, but she fully had to perform. She did very well.
Surely that's like an open mic night then. If there's like an audience of that size, that's my idea of hell.
It is not karaoke at that stage. I totally agree.
Yeah, I think also I was one of those kids that was like fully thought I was going to be, Britney Spears. Like, and my parents, God love them, always supported whatever endeavor I was going on. And there was a short period of time where the singing was a thing. And I was going to a singing teacher. In fact, she was called Verity, my singing teacher, and she was actually on the X Factor. Simon Cowell loved her. He was, she went to judges' houses and everything, and lived in Grimsby. So I went to Verity to have singing lessons, and it gets worse. I made a CD. So I made a CD because that was kind of part of what she did as like a service. Obviously, you had to pay extra for it and stuff, but it was really cool to go into like a recording studio. And so the first one happened, and that was that. And then in my naivety, how old will I have been? Probably 14 or 15. So not like a baby child. And also I had a job, so it was earning my own money. I was like, what will my mum and dad want for Christmas this year? I know, I will record them a Christmas album. And so I genuinely paid my hard-earned cash. My sister dropped me off at this recording studio, and I recorded something that will haunt me for the rest of my life, a Dewhurst Christmas album.
Oh my God. This is maybe the best thing I've ever heard. And
so I think this is why karaoke is a bit triggering for me, because it brings back. And even the other day, my mum mentioned it, the fact that I did it. And my mum has always been my number one fan. And I said that to her. I was like, but mum, like you were always supportive of me. You kept driving me to the lessons and stuff. She was like, yeah, exactly. I drove you to the lessons. You get better. I was like, oh, thanks.
Oh God. Honestly, that is maybe the best story I've ever heard. And it also would explain A, why karaoke might be triggering, but B, you probably sit in that camp where you're a bit too good.
Oh, no.
You're not going to be professional, but you're too good for karaoke, whereas I can be objectively shit.
I listened to that. And my dad has he must have downloaded it onto his, Apple whatever. And so occasionally when we're at his house and he puts his Christmas playlist on, every now and again one just sneaks in there, and I swear to God, I die. How did I ever think I was good? It's so bad. It's so bad. I don't know what I was thinking. It actually got played on the BBC once because I made the fatal mistake of mentioning it. And then the presenter of BBC Radio Leeds Breakfast Show was like, we need to get a copy. And I think somehow got in touch with my mum and got a copy of this bloody album.
Oh, she did you dirty there.
It did me. I went for not just an album, full photo shoot, Mickey Mouse Christmas hat on. Awful. What was I thinking?
My God. Oh, so why did Mickey Mouse feature at Christmas? Bizarre.
We had Santa hats in our house that were just Mickey Mouse for some reason. We went to Disney one year. I honestly, there are so many questions I have about my childhood. I was a happy child, but I think sometimes a bit of reality wouldn't do a girl amiss. You know, if my parents just sit me down and be like, do you know what, Abs? One thing you probably won't ever do is be a professional singer. So why don't we just nip this one in the bud?
It's funny how sometimes you have those moments. I remember at my sister's hen do, so bearing in mind, not a child and also a grown-up person at that point, suddenly there was this moment where me and my sisters were putting out a choreographed dance from our childhood in a club in Southampton. But instead of being mortified and embarrassed about the situation, I had this feeling of like, my word, why weren't we ever in a girl band or, you know, at least backing dancers? And then you look back at the video and you're like,
that's why.
That is why.
Yeah. And this is where, like you mentioned that I do CrossFit earlier, genuinely one of the main reasons that I go and do that kind of fitness is that those are the only gyms with no mirrors, because I can watch other people and be like, I definitely look like you. Doing that movement, we were doing snatching the other day, like an Olympic weightlifting movement. And I was like, I look like all these other people. And then I occasionally work out in a hotel gym with a mirror and I'm like, oh, wow, that's quite humbling. But so I just think sometimes ignorance is bliss. And if I don't have to see it or hear it, then I'm great.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss. And sometimes being humbled is okay too.
It is. How did we, what an absolute, like, what am I trying to say? Divergent?
Classic Christmas party small talk is, I think, what we've done here.
Small talk.
Which leads us on to our last section, which is some music for the playlist. And this is not necessarily going on musical artists who we really love, but those who are doing the best that we could find for the planet. Who have you got?
Well, I think we probably will end up with something not too dissimilar here. I went for Coldplay.
Yeah.
Because they also, their Christmas song is actually on my playlist, and I have a very specific Christmas playlist, and I feel like it's going to be very different to your Christmas playlist, I'll be totally honest. And this is absolutely no shade on you, by the way, but I have quite like a it's quite relaxing. I have a lot of the old John Lewis Christmas songs in there. It's a little bit kind of jazz, like Christmas coffee. And don't get me wrong, there are times when that is perfect, and more often than not when we're entertaining, it is that kind of vibe. It's very rarely step into Christmas, that's not really me. And I'm not saying that would be you, but I'm just saying it could be you.
Whatever gave you that impression?
Maybe the choreographed dance, I don't know, I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh, on that, my mum used to make us do plays to her patients. She's a GP, and that was quite mortifying. So there were quite a number of choreographed dances over the years.
Anyway. Oh, wow. As if going to see a GP wasn't painful enough. You're already going to to deal with an ailment. You're then having to endure that. Good for her.
Yeah, dealing with her bratty children. God, anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, so I went for Coldplay Christmas Lights because it's a nice song. It's actually on my Christmas playlist, and as I say, I'm very specific about that Christmas playlist. And also Coldplay are doing, while they are still not perfect, they are doing great things to shine a spotlight on the impacts that the music industry has, not least make the floor of some of their concerts energy intensive kind of. So if you're dancing, it's generating energy, which I think is so cool. They're taking steps that not a lot of other artists are. Even just, for example, this year they did a tour supposedly, but they only did 2 locations in the UK. They did Hull and they did London, and they made, you know, potentially if people wanted to go see them, then they had to get there. So I think, while not perfect, clearly they are doing a lot, and they do talk a lot publicly about things, although this is a sad story for the Green Queens podcast, because we did get messaged on LinkedIn by somebody who works at Wembley Arena and is working with Coldplay to help build their set and to use this like world's
stationary
first.
energy storage, so that they're not using grid electricity, they can use renewable energy, all that.
So it was, essentially they're like building a generator that was going to help power this concert in a green way. And they were like, we think that this would make for a great piece for the Green Queens podcast. And we were like, we concur wholeheartedly. So I obviously messaged straight back saying, yes, if you can get us into this concert, it would also be great to interview the band. Da, da, da. He was like, yeah, no, definitely we can make this work. We had it blocked out in our calendars and everything. And then we essentially got looped into a conversation with the actual PR for Coldplay, who were like, nice try, girls. But no.
Yeah, that was the really mortifying thing, because I have a contact at Coldplay and, been having this in my back pocket for a number of years, and I've been given it, and the person who gave it to me said, use this with caution, you have one shot to speak to this person. And so I emailed them and I was like, oh, we just need to connect the dots, we've already been approached by blah blah blah. And she it wasn't just even that she was like, no, sorry, it was like, can you imagine how many people are interested in this? Obviously I'm not going to chat to you. And we were like, oh.
She was like, we've obviously had an insane amount of interest. We were like, okay, well, actually, you approached us or somebody approached us. But anyway, that's by the by. It would have made a great Green Queens episode, and it will, because I'm manifesting that one day we will get Chris Martin from Coldplay on the podcast and we can play him this and I can say, look, you are on my chosen Christmas playlist. Who's on yours?
You rejected us once, don't reject us again, Chris.
Yeah. In the name of the environment.
Well, I think I had a look at this from sort of two components. A, who are the artists who are doing the most to reduce the environmental impact of their tours? So through renewable energy, thinking about merchandise, thinking about recycling, all of those good things. Coldplay is at the top of the list in terms of impact, but followed by a very close second by Billie Eilish, who's doing a tremendous amount of things. She's even making some of her vinyls from this sort of recycled biodegradable material as well.
And giving so much money to environmental charities as well. Like, she put a statement out recently just to basically say nobody on this planet should be a billionaire. If you are a billionaire, what are you doing? Like, other people and other organizations need that money more. And I'm like, go Billie.
I'm with Billie 100%. And then there are some other ones in this list that I think are kind of interesting. So Jack Johnson, I'm not into Jack Johnson. It's triggering of people who thought they could play the guitar and sing at school. And anyway, but Massive Attack, they were also in the news this year because they did this totally zero carbon gig near Bristol. Again, battery powered, renewably powered. Everyone arrived by public transport, etc., etc. But I also wanted to have a look at some of the artists who maybe they're not necessarily shouting from the rooftops about renewable energy, but are just providing a lot of good to the world.
Yeah.
And I was amazed to see that the sort of top three are, unsurprisingly, Rihanna. She has the Clara Lionel Foundation, which is all about education, emergency relief, climate justice, and all sorts. Amazing.
Yeah, she's also like the Queen of Barbados. They adore her. She does so much for the Caribbean and for disadvantaged communities, in the Caribbean. She is so iconic, I think. And what's nice is that from such a small island, they don't have many people to shout about. And so for it to be somebody that is obviously so talented and then also such a good person, it's great.
So, fun fact for you. I went to uni with a guy called Jack Marriott. I don't think he'll be listening, but if you are, hello. And he went to nursery with Rihanna.
In Barbados?
Yeah. And it was one of those things where he lived there until he was like 5. And then obviously many, 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 many years later looked at this picture and was like, holy shit, that's Rihanna, age 3.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But then the other two, close followed, obviously Taylor Swift. Many questions around like her private jet usage, whatever, but how much she's given towards disaster relief and food banks, particularly here in the UK, and scholarships. And then number 3 is Beyonce with her Bay Good public charity global partnerships, all again around water, disaster relief, scholarships, grant programs, etc., etc. So
I've not looked into, but I would be interested to. Ray also, one of the songs on her album is called Climate Anxiety and is an amazing song. The lyrics are so clever. If you haven't listened to it, you should. But that makes me think that she must do stuff.
Let's take that to the next bit of investigative journalism, and she should have been top of my list. But I think, as we get towards the end of the evening, when we're doing a little bit of dancing, nice to see that these trailblazing women are actually doing, not only providing us with excellent pop tunes, but are doing a tremendous amount of good for the world. So
I'm glad. I'm glad that you. Obviously, we love Billie Eilish and everything that she does. She doesn't scream Christmas, so we kind of salvaged it with a bit of Beyonce at the end, I think.
And also, Billie Eilish, the song that was in the Barbie movie.
No.
I had an existential crisis after the Barbie movie.
Yeah. I watched it with Jake, and he was a bit like, "What am I doing watching this?" And at the end, we were both like, "Oh God."
Yeah. And I cried. I cried all the way home from the cinema. And Deep was like, "Why are you crying? Like, what is it that made you cry?" And I was like, "I don't know." But every time I hear that song from Billie Eilish, it takes me right back.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but triggering.
It's a great film. There's a lot behind it, a lot more than I think people were expecting, when you think Barbie. It says a lot. I think it, as particularly as like our generation kind of brought up with the doll, and what growing up in that era was like. I know what you mean. It was very profound, and that song was brilliantly written by Billie. She's absolutely incredible. I've watched loads of stuff of her and her brother when they were younger, just like jamming in their bedrooms. I don't know why my TikTok feed does that to me sometimes, and it's very enjoyable. She's just a very lovely, wholesome person. She's very normal.
Well, I think that means that Coldplay, Billie, Rihanna, Taylor, and Beyonce, and Ray, you're all invited to our party. You're all invited to the podcast anytime.
Yeah.
You can come on.
Yeah. But if it's any... Did you hear the dog give a little snort there? Sorry about that. The PR for Coldplay is not, because you didn't want to help us. And so we will make it happen without you.
But also, if you are listening...
Yeah.
Hello.
And please like and subscribe. And on that note, I need to go because I am going to be late to my wreath making, and I can't possibly have a Christmas party without a wreath on my door.
Well, I will see you next week for when we talk everything to do with sustainable Christmas food.
The best kind of food.
Oh, well, perfect party and no hangover. So what a win.
Well, I don't know, the night is young, darling. It's 5:42. I'll text you in the morning and give you an update.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Green Queens.
If you did and you'd like to hear more, we'd be so very grateful if you could like,
subscribe and join the Green group chat for weekly episodes.